Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's new Claims Service Model webinar. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's event. We've taken a screenshot of an example of the attendee interface. You should see something that looks like this on your own computer desktop in the upper right corner. You will have the opportunity to submit text questions to today's presenter by typing your questions into the question pane of the control panel, and you may send in your questions at any time during the presentation. We will collect these and address them during the Q&A session at the end of today's presentation. I would now like to introduce Zoe Wang from icare.
Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar. It's our privilege to be able to build on conversations that we've been having with many of you over the past 6 months about icare's new claims service model. My name is Zoe Wang and I'm the Specialist Support Manager in Return to Work and Support here at icare. I look after the more complex end of the claims spectrum, including fatality claims, complex medical, mental health claims, all fall under me and my team. I have 18 years experience in workers insurance and it's my pleasure to be speaking with you today. With me is Simone Witzke, Project Lead at EML, who's been working with us on the new service model.
Hi everyone, I'm Simone. I've been at EML for over 13 years, working across areas in claims, both operationally and technically, projects and change, risk management and contract management. I'm very happy to be sitting here today with you to share this knowledge and assist you get you and your employers ready for 1 January 2018.
Thanks, Simone. I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we work and live, and recognise their continuing connection to land, water and community. I pay respect to elders past, present and emerging. I'd also like to acknowledge the wonderful work that many of you have undertaken to achieve great outcomes in reduction of claims and premiums and proactive management to support employers and workers in New South Wales. On this note, we ran a range of workshops in August, and this consultation with both brokers and employers gave us critical insights into how we can improve the delivery of the model from the 1st of January. For example, many of you were concerned that 6 weeks away from work was too long for a claim to remain without a dedicated case manager. We've given this a lot of thought, and following these discussions has consequently put in place automated triggers and review points from notification of the claim to ensure the claim is on track for recovery within that 6 weeks. A triggered event such as a missed upgrade in work capacity, an unexpected change to a certificate of capacity, or an employer or broker identifying concerns with liability would prompt a review by the claims system and an injury management specialist. As brokers and consultants, you all have clients with workers insurance needs, and your ability to help them navigate the new claims world will be critical for many of them. Today's webinar is focused on providing you with the information that we've prepared for employers, as we want to ensure you have the same information as your clients. We're also importantly here to answer any outstanding questions that you have about the new claims service model and how you fit in, what's happening on 1st of January and what's happening later in the year. So for those of you listening who aren't quite sure who icare is, we provide insurance and care for the people of New South Wales and exist to protect our state's health, wealth and heritage. We're here to support the physical and mental well-being of more than 3.4 million workers, as well as motorists and builders. We also insure everything from the Sydney Harbour Bridge and Opera House to everyone who travels on any road in New South Wales. And of course, we're also there for the 288,000 businesses in New South Wales committed to providing world-class services, including simple and affordable insurance, return to work solutions, and care for people who've been severely injured in the workplace or on our roads.
Now to take you through a little bit about EML. For over 100 years, EML has been the workers insurance partner for businesses and government agencies across Australia. From our 10 regional and metro locations across the country, our workforce supports businesses nationally in personal injury claims management across diverse industry sectors. In New South Wales, we operate out of 4 locations: Sydney, Parramatta, Gosford and Newcastle. EML's purpose and our values align very closely with icare's vision and culture. This has allowed us to partner in the design and the implementation of a new claims service model that will be operational next year.
Thanks, Tim. Since we announced the new service model earlier this year, we've executed a range of internal and external activities to ensure we're ready for 1st of January. Our readiness for our employers and injured workers, as well as you, is what has been driving us, particularly in these last 2 quarters. We've commenced broker and employer consultation, starting with workshops in August. We've begun our recruitment and training with the first couple of intakes of new employees coming into EML over the last 2 months. With that, we've just had our 3rd tranche of employees, and the new organisation has a distinct buzz about it as they train them for the 1st of January. We've been training our own employees with a range of initiatives and communications. We're racing towards January the 1st, which for you and your clients represents a simple, transparent, empathetic and consistent customer experience. Throughout our consultation with you over the past 6 or so months, we've identified a number of consistent themes that continue to hold our employers' interests as well as yours. We've grouped their questions, and many of these will be familiar to you too, into 3 chapters. We aim to spend around 15 to 20 minutes on each chapter. At the beginning of each chapter, we'll answer a couple of very frequently asked questions, and then we'll open the floor to you. Please go ahead and start sending in your questions, as we'll be organising them as we go. The frequently asked questions will be posted up on our website following these webinars. We'll let you know as soon as they're available. Today, we won't be answering questions on things like underwriting and premiums or topics relating to existing claims, such as the implementation of Section 39. This is so we can maximise the time that we spend discussing the new claims service model.
So we're going to start now by looking at questions related to lodgement, triage, liability and approvals. We put up the 3 most common questions that our employers have had in these areas. In the meantime, feel free to send through your own questions as well. We'll also be demonstrating our new notification process for you shortly. So Andrew, I'll hand over to you to start with the most commonly asked questions before we go to the floor.
Thanks, Tim. Yes, we are getting lots of questions already, and we've got a lot of people on the line, so we're looking forward to the next hour or so. But our first frequently asked question for the day for you is, what is the triage process, and how can I be confident that potentially significant or complex claims are being managed by the right person?
Thanks, Andrew. I know that there is quite a lot of interest in this, and rightly so. The triage is a new process within the claims service model which considers the risk factors on the claim. This includes things like the type of injury, occupation, industry, as well as psychosocial and situational factors, like the motivation of the worker to return to work, and also the employer's ability to accommodate suitable duties in the workplace. If there are no risk factors present, then the claim will be managed through our support centre team, which streamlines the claims process. If the injury is more serious, or there are factors which may lead to a delayed return to work, then the claim will be managed by an appropriate case management specialist with the skills to support employers and the worker with the recovery from injury and return to work.
Okay. Thanks, Tim. Now I'll ask you again, ask Tim, if liability is accepted early, what if new information comes up that challenges this?
The most significant change to the initial liability process will be that provisional liability will be accepted very quickly for injuries where there is low risk and the employer agrees that the injury is a result of work. Where there is more complexity associated with the claim or the circumstances of injury, a case management specialist will be supported by a technical specialist to make the most appropriate initial liability decision on the claim. Full acceptance of liability will occur when the injury is more significant and there is sufficient information to make a soundly based decision. But each liability decision will be taking into account the individual circumstances of the claim.
Okay, thank you, Sid. And yes, now's the time, everyone on the phone, for questions around lodgement, triage, liability and approvals. So the final FAQ, I think it's for Zoe. With the incident and claims lodgement process, how do I lodge a claim?
Good question, Andrew. We have access to an online portal that will be available for you to use from the 1st of January. Through this notification portal, you'll be able to lodge claims 24 hours a day, 7 days per week. Brokers and advisors will have access to this portal as well as employers. Injured workers and providers can also lodge their own claims, but if any party other than the employer lodges a claim, it will always be verified then to make sure that the employment and injury details are correct. You also have the ability to notify claims through our support centre, which will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday to Friday. If you prefer, or your clients prefer, they can continue to utilise the preferred method of injury notification, which can include email, fax and post. We have these details available for you today following the presentation.
Okay. Before we take your questions on the floor, we're going to demonstrate the new online claims notification system, which will be live from 1 January. I'll invite Emma Rackley to take us through the system.
Thanks, Andrew. You can see here that I can lodge a claim as an employer. A claim can also be lodged by an injured worker, or indeed somebody else on behalf of an injured worker or an employer, such as yourself. If the notification is completed by another party before accepting the claim, the employer will be our first point of contact in order to verify the injury notification and the details. Using the notification form is very simple. It uses conditional logic to expand and contract, so the user is only required to fill out fields relevant to their situation. For example, if no time has been lost, questions relating to the R2PRW won't be shown. The mandatory questions, meanwhile, you can see are signalled with an asterisk. Now, as we start to scroll down, you can see the range of questions as well as the simplified format. You can also see that each input field has a question toggle that describes what's needed in more detail. We've simplified the injury notification to give you a broad range of options to select from, which means that the notifier doesn't have to spend time working out what to place in this field. With each injury, we've enabled the system to narrow it down. This provides us with valuable information that helps us determine the level of care required for each worker. And while you can notify us when there are multiple injuries in the one claim, you can't bulk notify separate claims on a single form. What you can do is lodge the claims one after another, and the process for that for each shouldn't take more than 10 or so minutes. If you don't have all the necessary information at the time of lodgement, such as certificate of capacity or wage information, that's no problem. We'll provide you with an email to assist you in re-accessing your notification easily when you're ready to complete the process. In just a few easy steps, we can submit the notification, and once this is submitted, you'll immediately receive a reference number, which will also be the claim number if the notification progresses to a claim.
Thanks for taking us through that, Emma. So injuries with no time loss make up around 45% of all claims, so we anticipate this practical approach will save everyone a lot of time and effort in collecting and reviewing information. Of course, we do understand that some notifiers still prefer to call to speak about the claim in person, which is perfectly fine. From 1 January, you can phone our support centre on 13 77 22, and one of our claims advisors will help you notify the injury and assist with any other queries that you have.
We're also planning on adding more functionality to the claims portal over the course of the year. We'll talk about that later on in the webinar. Now we'll answer some of the questions that you've been asking us about lodgement, triage, liability and improvals. Andrew, would you mind reading out the first question?
Love to, Zoe. And yes, we have been flooded with questions, which is great. So, can brokers, Zoe, be aligned with a dedicated EML team for our clients?
It's a great question, Andrew. As many of you would know, there are a number of ways that you can segment a claims division. You would have had different experiences with different scheme agents over the years. The way that we've chosen to segment our business is first by injury and claim complexity. So this will determine which service level the claim receives. Following this, we're looking at segmentation based on employer size, as we understand that corporate employers and small employers do have different needs. And we're also looking at industry segmentation. From day one, it may not be possible to have dedicated claims teams aligned with brokers, but we'll explore the best way to segment our claims team as the team grows throughout 2018.
Thanks. And running off that, it's a similar question. Will claims be allocated based on injury or employer in regards to case managers? So.
Yeah. And Andrew, the answer to that is a little bit of both. So we do have a hierarchy of claim segmentation. The first step in the hierarchy is to look at the needs of the specific injury and the complexity of the claim. If the claim is simple, it will be managed within our support centre. If the injury or the circumstances of the worker and the employer are more complex, then that will be escalated through to a case management specialist with the appropriate skills to manage the claim. Once we've allocated it to an appropriate level of service, then there will be some alignment within the teams to industry and employer size to make sure that we're meeting the needs of those particular employer groups.
Okay. Next question. Can a broker be an advocate of an existing client even though brokers do not handle icare anymore? Does that make sense?
I'm not sure if I completely understand the question, so we might have to take that offline and look at talking to the person who sent through that question. But what I think I'm hearing is a question around how brokers will continue to work with icare and their clients in the future. And I think that there will be a role for brokers to act as a trusted advisor to their clients, who are also our clients in the future. Workers insurance, as we all know, is not a simple product, and it's certainly not simple when it comes to claims management. And I certainly see brokers playing an important role in the future in providing advice in terms of risk and return to work management to their clients, and also as acting a conduit or liaison between their client and with icare.
Question about PRE. Is a PRE not required for full-time super duty claims? What if there is still economic loss?
Thanks, Andrew. That's another good question. Look, we're trying to simplify the process, so we're only asking you for information that we need. We will need PRE if we are required to pay weekly benefits, but we're really trying to cut down the instances where you need to send us a whole lot of wage information and for us to do a complex calculation where we won't be making weekly benefit payments. So we'll work with you on a case-by-case basis, and if there is a reason for us to gather PRE either for weekly payment reasons or for excess calculation, for example, then that's something we'll do with you and your clients, and we'll operate on a case-by-case basis. But overall, we just want to request the information that we actually need.
Okay. Next question has come in from Tracy. What do you deem as simple in regards to claims that remain in the support team?
Thanks, Tracy. It's a good question. This will be an evolving model throughout 2018. What we've done over the last probably more than a year is analyse about 5 years of claims data that has come through to the nominal insurer through our various scheme agents. With this, we've got a really rich data source of the characteristics of the claim which indicate a risk of delayed return to work. This is not as simple as just the injury type. There's a combination of factors that we look at, which is injury, industry, the type of occupation the person has, where they're living, where they're working, as well as asking psychosocial questions of the employer and also of the worker, so we can gauge the person's motivation to return to work and also the employer's ability to accommodate suitable duties. So based on a wide range of these factors, the data is processed by a very sophisticated triage algorithm, which then indicates what the level of risk is on the claim. Overlaid on top of this, we have triage specialists who will be within our support centre with allied health backgrounds who can pick up claims which look like they do have a degree of risk, to talk to the worker, the treatment professionals and the employer to find out how significant those risk factors are and to assign them to appropriate claim service.
Okay, thank you, Zoe. We have a question here on investigations. Will employers have a choice in providers for investigations when liability is disputed?
Thanks, Andrew. I know that many of you have developed relationships with investigators over the years, and we respect that you have done some great work in this area. icare has established a panel of investigation providers, and to ensure consistency in services and quality of reports delivered in the scheme, we are looking to utilise those providers. However, if you have a preference for one of the providers that's on the panel, we will of course work with you and your client to ensure that those preferences are taken into account and we end up with the right services on the right claim.
Okay. I have a question on reimbursement of wages from Cameron. Will EML be reimbursing wages without a request from the employer based on certificate of capacity?
It's a good question, Andrew, and I think I might have to look in a little bit more detail about that one. Weekly reimbursements, as we know, weekly payments can be made in a number of different ways. Some employers work on wage reimbursement schedules and these will continue into the future. There are other more informal arrangements that we will need to look at on a case-by-case basis. And again, there are other employers who also choose to just have us pay them directly based on the certificate of capacity. There are no plans to change arrangements that are in place at the moment, but we will be reviewing those arrangements to make sure that they make sense and work appropriately in the new service model.
Okay, I think we might move on. There's a lot of questions coming in, but some of them may be addressed, I guess, in the next chapter. So we'll move forward.
Okay. Thanks, Andrew.
Okay, so I'd like to quickly recap on what we mean when we refer to the simplified customer journey. We wanted to show you on one page what the claims journey will look like from notification to recovery. Notifications of injuries can be completed online by the icare or EML websites. The dynamic online notification form uses conditional logic to expand and contract, so the user is only required to fill out relevant fields. As Zoe mentioned in one of the examples before, if no time has been lost, questions relating to PIAWI are not shown. The portal is accessible to the employer, worker and other stakeholders. If you assist your clients with injury notifications, you will be able to complete this via the portal as well. Preliminary data fields are mandatory and provide the basic information required to proceed to triage and for notification numbers to be issued. Beyond mandatory fields, the completion is optional. However, if you do provide us with more information, this will allow us to assign your claim to the most appropriate person and to start the claims process more quickly. From 1 January, triaging will ensure each claim gets the right level of care and support. Triaging is managed by the claims system, which performs a risk assessment to work out what level of care is needed for each claim. The system is supported by triage specialists who are highly skilled in assessing the level of risk associated with each claim. This activity happens at notification and is reviewed throughout the life of the claim by both the claims system and the specialists. Specific triggers might include things like expected duration of claim being exceeded, treatment exceeding recommendations for that injury, an employer identifying concerns of liability, or other symptoms such as secondary psychological symptoms. Any of these will prompt a review by an injury management specialist or a triage specialist. Emails will be sent to confirm the injury notification has been received and to expect contact from us over the next couple of days. No claim is automatically accepted unless an employer has no concerns with how the injury occurred. Possible liability concerns are captured from both the employer and the worker. Once the worker has recovered, they will receive a call and a letter as well as an email asking about their experience. We are keen to continuously improve our service, so this feedback will be valuable.
Great. Let's now take a look at the second chapter, where we'll focus on questions about service expectations and key contacts. As before, we'll be answering a couple of frequently asked questions before going to the floor. I should add here that where we've answered your question in our introduction, we won't repeat it, but it will be available again in the FAQs after the session. We'll put up the 3 questions that you have been most commonly asked from you. In the meantime, feel free to send through your questions related to this topic.
Okay, I know this question has more or less been dealt with, but we will go through it one more time because it is the most frequently asked question. So will my client have one dedicated case manager who can manage my portfolio of claims?
Thanks, Andrew. As you mentioned, Zoe, you go through this before, and I guess what's really important to note is that the service model is really different to what we've experienced before with the scheme and the scheme agents in the past. We're now focusing on allocating claims by ensuring the right level of care is given to each individual claim. So simpler claims like medical-only claims will be managed by qualified, empathetic claims advisors that are focused on customer service. More complex claims will have that one-on-one dedicated case management specialist who will be responsible for the claims through to recovery. We're currently looking at technology which will allow us to bundle claims and direct them to specific case management specialists. If, for example, your client has a current claim sitting with a case management specialist, any new claims that you have that require the same level of case management support will go to the same person.
Okay, so again, this is the time for more questions, and this topic obviously is around service expectations and key contacts. So the second question, how will you ensure you recruit the right staff and they have the capability and the service ethic?
So we've been undertaking a thorough recruitment and onboarding process with our staff to ensure that they have the capability and service ethic to deliver the new service model. icare and email have been collaboratively recruiting staff, incorporating screening for a cultural fit, psychometric testing, assessment centres, and the more traditional behavioural type interviews as well. So far we have a terrific team to start with, and our numbers will continue to ramp up through the year from next year as well, as the number of claims managed in the new service model increases.
All right, next question is, I've heard you're building a call centre. How will claims management work in this environment?
So we like to call this team our support centre, as we're creating a centre that provides support rather than just simply taking calls. The team has been undergoing extensive training and testing of the new model and the processes involved over the recent weeks. They are a terrific group with a real strong customer service ethic. Claims advisors in this area will complete claims activities for injuries that are expected to have less than 4 to 6 weeks away from work. They have the skills and authority to respond to requests coming into the support centre by phone and in writing. They'll also be making outbound contact with you, the employer, the worker and other stakeholders to ensure recovery and return to work occur as quickly as possible.
Thanks, Sim. And now we'll take your questions. Please feel to send them in, as Andrew has indicated before. Andrew, do we have any questions from the group?
Yes, we have a few. This one's from Kim. If an employer has a number of case managers looking after their active claims, how do you propose to develop strong working relationships with employers, i.e. understanding the organisation, their expectations, internal resources, the availability of FDs, etc.?
Thanks, Kim. That's a really good question. That's something that we've been thinking about quite a lot over the last few months across all areas of icare, including IPNP and our commercial engagement team. We're really committed to making sure that we understand the needs of our customers, and this certainly includes our employers and also you as brokers and advisors. What we're looking at doing is utilising a combination of new technology with old-fashioned relationship management and just getting to know you. We have a relationship management system which will include all of the information that we have about you as a client and your client's preferences as well. So we're looking at what your preferences are in terms of communication, who your return to work coordinators are, who the preferred advisor is on the claim, whether there's a preferred rehabilitation provider, and all sorts of details like that. So this will be accessible to anyone who is touching any of those claims. We also understand that it's really important for our clients to understand that we understand them, and we will be allocating more complex claims to the same case management specialist wherever this is feasible to do so. Bearing in mind we are ramping up our claims operations in the new service model quite dramatically over 2018. So there will be a period of adjustment that we go through where we start off with, I think, about, we start off with a much smaller group of claims advisors and we move up to a larger volume later in the year. We're absolutely committed to making sure that we develop relationships with you. And this will be a combination of the claims staff at EML as well as the commercial engagement team at icare, including the relationship managers.
Okay. Thanks, Sally. Next question has come in. Will brokers access current claims reports through EML or icare?
Okay, so this again will be a little bit of a combination. We understand that not all of the claims that are under management will be in the new service model, and not all of them may be with EML. So we still have Allianz and GIO that will be continuing to manage claims through 2018 and beyond. With this, we understand that there is a need to coordinate reporting for our clients, and we'll be making every effort to do so. So if you have specific reporting requirements, please reach out to the icare team to discuss these, and we'll work out a solution that works for you and your client.
Thanks, Sally. Next question. How will claims reviews with major clients occur with claims spread across segments and case managers? So similar to what you just said.
Yep. Thanks, Andrew. And we're looking at how we want claims reviews to occur in the future. Different brokers and different clients utilise claims reviews in a variety of different ways, and we want to try and accommodate as much of this as possible. So we don't have a specific process where we'll be going out to every client every 3 months. It will really be on an as-needs basis through discussions with that client and yourselves. We will look at having the most appropriate person within the claims segment take a lead on the claims review. That is likely to be someone in the support segment if you have claims managed through the return to work segment, sorry, when you have claims managed through that service type. If you have a large range of smaller claims, then we'll look to have someone like a team leader involved in the claims review. But please be assured that we will have a coordinated approach to claims reviews, and all of the claims information will be available to you and the client to discuss.
Question from Francis. Can claims still be reasonably excused?
Thanks, Francis. The legislation and guidelines regarding reasonable excuse haven't changed as a result of the new claims service model. We certainly will have a robust approach to making sure that we're making appropriate initial liability decisions and full liability decisions in the new service model. Based on our experience, we want to make sure that we're using provisional liability and reasonable excuse in the absolutely most effective way, and one that's in line with the requirements of CIRA guidelines and the legislation.
I'm just noticing we're getting lots of questions, and so we're not going to be able to get to all of them. We're going to another chapter now, and then we'll have some time towards the end to get through a few more questions, but I'll rest Zoe's voice. But just flagging that the answers to your questions will also be put on the microsite or our website by the end of this week, if not early next week. So I'll hand over to, I think, Sim.
The 1st of January marks the beginning of a new claims journey for us. Later in 2018, we'll also be launching the new portal with far greater functionality. But we've arranged for a number of key improvements to greet you when you lodge a new claim from 1st of January. Zoe, can you take us through some of those key improvements?
Yep. Well, hopefully the first thing that you'll notice is the empathetic nature of our claims staff and their technical knowledge and customer service ethic. Our first staff started their onboarding and training in October, and they're going through dress rehearsal now, practicing the skills that they'll need next year. We've been committed and determined in our search to find the right people to support you and the new model in 2018. We've set a very high benchmark in our recruitment drive, and this has absolutely paid off. I've met most of the new employees so far, and they're an impressive set of ambassadors for our new service model. The communications we'll be sending you will be easier to understand and respond to, which I'm sure you can appreciate having read a lot of complex workers' insurance letters in your time. We'll have a quick acceptance for agreed work injuries, and any automatic acceptance will only be for provisional liability. Full acceptance of liability and declinature of liability will go through the normal process that you're used to now. Our dispute processes have improved, and you'll find that they have a high level of transparency. And brokers and employers are also able to access our complaints and disputes processes if things need to be escalated.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to our final chapter, which is focused on systems, reporting, access to information, and other stakeholders. Andrew, can you take us through some of the questions that are being most common from the audience?
Love to. Thanks, Tim. First question. Will brokers have the same access to information as employers?
It's a nice, easy one to start with. So brokers will have the same access that they currently are experiencing, so there'll be no change in this regard.
Okay. Thanks, Tim. So, next question. How will systems like Injury Connect be accommodated?
We're aware that a number of customers utilise Injury Connect software as well as other types of software to assist them with their internal in-house injury management and return to work programs. We're investigating our options for how this can be accommodated to meet the needs of our customers. In the meantime, there should be no reason why your clients can't use Injury Connect as they do now, and if they utilise that to notify new injuries via email, they can continue to do so. I would point out that if you're notifying injuries not using the portal or our phone lodgement, you won't receive an automatic claim notification number, but one will be sent to you once the notification is processed by email.
Okay. I'll put this to Simmer regarding reporting. What reports will be available to monitor and track claims? We've taken it on before, but yes?
Yeah, so we did go through a little bit of detail on that, but just important to note that reporting and claims tracking will continue to improve over time. In the meantime, EML do have a standard suite of reports available, including things like cost of claims reports, LPR reporting, tools injury coding, and cost segmentation as well. These can be automatically sent to you and your clients each month. Whilst initially we will not have the historical data captured in this reporting, we are working really closely with GIO and Allianz and icare on the reporting options to meet your needs across the new and existing portfolios. If you have any specific business needs, please get in touch with your current relationship managers, as we'd really like to understand your needs and what we can do.
Thank you. And just a final question regarding providers. Can I still use my preferred providers?
Yep. So we did have a bit of information on this provided earlier, but just to reiterate, if you do have preferred rehabilitation providers, there doesn't need to be any change to that arrangement. For the referrals to legal and investigation providers, we're going to work closely with you and your clients to identify the best provider to use for each claim, taking into consideration preferences and the established icare panel as well. As I mentioned, it's really key to refer to the panel because it does ensure that we have that consistency in the service and the quality of reports that we need across the span.
Thanks, Tim. Now to your questions. Andrew, do we have anything through so far?
We do, and feel free to continue to send your questions through. So a slightly longer question, this one from Chris, just tackling the topic of claims reviews. Regular claims reviews are extremely important for LPR clients who require estimate reviews by relevant responsible case manager and team leaders. And I would like to know if we are still able to have scheduled review meetings, as we've done in the past, on a quarterly basis and pre-renewal reviews.
Thanks for that. I understand that how important estimates and cost of claims are for LPR clients. Even a small blowout in the expected duration or extra treatment that's requested can have major implications for their premium. So we do understand the context of this question. As I said before, we are working with you and your clients to understand your requirements for claims reviews. And if quarterly claims reviews, including estimate review, is what you and your clients need, then that is what will be delivered.
Okay. Just running off that question, this is more of a regional area question. How will claims review meetings be held in regional areas with multiple case managers?
Thanks, Andrew. So again, we will look to make sure that the most appropriate people are present at each claims review. That might not mean having every single person who's touched one of your claims in the room at the same time. And I would hazard to guess that that is a similar experience to what some of you have experienced in the past. We will make sure that the person in the room is capable and authorised to make decisions on the claim and understands what they're talking about. We also have the ability to dial people in via teleconference or Skype to make sure that questions on claims where the person might not be in the room can still be answered with the right level of expertise.
Thank you. This is a KPI question from Bernadette. What is your KPI in finalising a claim submitted?
Thanks, Bernadette. We don't have a specific KPI in relation to the time from notification to closure. As you're aware, there are very different types of injuries and each of them has a different level of complexity and will take a different amount of time to close. Having said that, we do have exception reporting and workflow in place to make sure that when a claim has reached pre-injury duties with no further treatment, that it doesn't stay in an open state for longer than is absolutely necessary. This is very important to us from an operational perspective to make sure that we have the right number of people to manage open and active claims. And of course, it is important for you and your clients to make sure that we don't have claims open for longer than it's needed.
Okay, another question. If I have a client that is in LPR from June 2017, do I need to organise 2 claims reviews for the 2018 year for claims pre-Jan and post-Jan with the EML?
Okay, so I think I'm going to take your question a little bit broader to make the assumption that you're talking about, do you need to have separate claims reviews with the claims team that was managing your claims pre-2018 versus from the 1st of January 2018 onwards? The answer to that is that please talk to your icare relationship manager or contact about this. We are absolutely committed to making sure that you're getting a consistent service across the scheme. We see everyone as icare's customers and we want to make sure that we're meeting your needs and not making things more difficult for you. So we'll do everything that we possibly can to make sure that the claims review experience is a collaborative one between your existing claims team and your new claims team in 2018.
Thanks very much for seeing the questions through. We've still got more to come, so I appreciate it. Next question. Please explain again how a claim is determined. Is it done by the claims officer it has been sent to?
Thanks for that. So I'm assuming this question is around initial liability determination. So yes, the claims determination will be made based on our processes and business rules that we've set up, which are very strict, and we expect all of our claims staff to act in accordance with these procedures. We have a very strong QA system in place that will be looking at the quality of decisions on claims from day one. Claims that are identified as lower risk, where the employer has indicated that they have no concerns in relation to how the injury occurred. So by saying that the employer has indicated that they agree that the injury was a result of work, then we will be accepting provisional liability. In cases where the claim is more complex and goes to a case management specialist for management, the initial liability decision will be made in the way that it is today. So that is, the claims professional will look at the information that's available and make a determination as to whether to accept, decline, reasonably excuse or provisionally accept the claim by day 7. This has always been the way that it has been handled and will continue into the future. We are committed to making initial liability decisions and ongoing liability decisions as soon as possible because we know that this certainty leads to better return to work outcomes and allows employers and workers to manage the situation and move on with their lives and recovery.
Thank you, Zoe. Again, we'll rest your voice and we'll move on, then we'll come back to final questions at the end.
Okay, thanks Andrew, and thanks everyone. That concludes the question and answer portion of the webinar. As we mentioned, we'll be posting the questions and the answers from this session on the icare website and we'll let you know once these have been posted. Thank you for all the questions and comments that you put forward today. If you do have any further questions or would like one of the icare relationship managers to visit you or discuss this further, please reach out by contacting wiemployers@icare.com.au.
Thanks, Sim. Before we go, let's take a look at the further changes coming in 2018. icare will launch its next release of the portal and the new claims management system during 2018. The enhanced portal will mean that customers are able to view their policy and claims in one place. You will be able to track the progress of an individual claim, provide further information relevant to the claim, submit payment requests, and track when those payments are made. Building on the feedback that you provided in the August workshops, we are designing our processes and our team structures and systems to ensure you get access as much as possible to the same claims advisors you've spoken to in the past. For example, the sophisticated call routing available through our telephony system will direct return calls back to the original claims advisor in the support centre. The new claims management system is a fully integrated solution that will enable automatic approval of treatment requests for non-complex claims, validated using an evidence-based medicine approach, and will provide a rich data source across the scheme, giving us the ability to identify continuous improvements to the claims management lifecycle.
We are really interested in keeping an open dialogue with you and will be organising future webinars and other channels of communication as we build up to January 1 and beyond. We regularly ask our partners to provide feedback to us via Net Promoter Score surveys, and we use this information to improve the customer experience. The new approach to our claims service was driven in part by NPS. You are an important source of insight, and we rely on you to ensure we're doing the right thing by all of our customers.
And Sim, I'll just go to one last question before we head towards the final wrap-up. This is just a question from Kirsten asking about the history data, I guess. Brokers complete regular premium projections for our clients, and these projections obviously involve 3-year past history. How do we obtain this past claims history if we have a history with Allianz, QBE, GIO, EML, etc.?
Thanks for that, Andrew. I might take that question. The first step really is to make sure that you're making the relationship manager at icare aware of your reporting requirements. At the moment, we are operating across several different scheme agent systems, which does mean that there are some manual workarounds in place to make sure that we get a collated view of claims history available to you. We realise that this is not ideal, and in the future we will look to integrate claims data within our systems to provide a more seamless experience. In the meantime, again, reach out to your relationship manager to discuss your reporting requirements, and we'll do our best to do the running around in the background to get those reports to you. Okay, so before we say goodbye, you'll see a downloadable PDF on your control panel. It's a summary of the major changes that are taking place in workers' insurance from January the 1st next year. Feel free to download this and share it with anyone in your team who might benefit from seeing it. Thanks to everyone for attending and listening to us today. We hope that the session has answered any of the outstanding questions you've had about our service. If there's any questions that haven't been answered today, we'll make every effort to get back in touch with you to provide answers to those questions. We've taken you through the nuts and bolts of the service model. We've shown you what to expect on January 1st and beyond, and we've answered your many and varied questions. We have a downloadable PDF, again, with key details of what we've spoken about today. Additionally, we'll be putting up frequently asked questions onto our website and posting a recording of the webinar in the coming weeks. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Goodbye, everyone, and thank you again for your participation and engagement today and helping to make this webinar as informative and valuable as possible.
Thank you, Simone and Zoe, and thank you everyone for attending today's webinar about icare's new claims service model. Once you leave today's webinar, you will receive a short survey on your screen after the presentation, and we would appreciate if you would complete that and provide your feedback. On behalf of icare and EML and our presenters, thank you for joining us today, and have a great rest of your day. Cheers.